going to talk about uh, one of my favorite ships in the Carnival fleet. A small, older ship, but has a lot of charm, and I've had a lot of good times on that ship. It's the Carnival Paradise. So let's see what it's all about. The Carnival Paradise is a fantasy class cruise ship by the Carnival Cruise Line. It was built in Finland, Helsinki, Finland, and she was floated out on 29 January 1998. Carnival Paradise started out to be the first completely non-smoking ships, and when she entered service, anti-smoking signs were all over the ship. Several anti-smoking and cancer prevention groups sponsored this. Passengers caught smoking would be fined $250 and put off at the next port, with transportation on their own expense. Due to poor revenue, Carnival decided to discontinue the non-smoking policy in December 2003, claiming that non-smokers tend to not drink or gamble as much as those accustomed to smoking. In September of 2004, the Carnival arrived at Long Beach, California, where it would take 3 or 4 day cruises to Ensenada, Mexico, and Santa Catalina Island, California. In 2011, Carnival moved to Tampa, and replacing the Inspiration, and that's one of the ships that sold. That's one of the sister ships to the Paradise. Then Carnival took 4 to 5 day voyages to Grand Cayman and Cozumel, Mexico. And also when Havana, Cuba was opened up for tourism, they sailed to Havana, Cuba and Key West, Florida, sailing from 2017 to 2019. In 2018, she underwent a month-long dry dock in Freeport, Bahamas, where they added a 14th deck to the front of the ship to accommodate new cabins. These are the deck plans of the ship, and I suggest if you're going to take a cruise to always get familiar with the deck plans before you get on the ship. It'll get you a little familiar about the layout and what to expect and where to find things. There will be a floor plan, I think, once you get in your room, and one of the pamphlet things that they give you when you first get to your room. But as you can see, it has a lot of things for a small ship. When it was built, it was probably one of the biggest ships out there, but ships have grown so much lately. People just want bigger and bigger, but I think a small ship like this offers everything you need on a cruise, and it definitely has some charm. One thing about going on a cruise is the great meals they have, and you've already paid for them when you pay for your cruise. They're included. Really, if you weren't into gambling or drinking, pretty much what you pay is what you get. Maybe fancy coffees and a few things, but other than that, food is pretty much free on the ship, and the dining room experience is worth going to, at least for dinner. I mean, you get breakfast or lunch wherever you want, but I would suggest at least having half of your meals up here. You already paid for the experience, so why don't you just go there? I mean, you can eat a buffet anywhere, even though the buffets are pretty good on a ship. having to wait in line for food and then go look for a table. You have an assigned table on Carnival Cruise, and so you don't have to wait for anything. The first day you have to wait in line for them to show you where your table is, but after that, it's pretty simple. The food is excellent. I mean, it's a 5-star restaurant, and it's served in different courses, and they also have things you could try like frog legs and escargot, and if you want to try it. But if eating in the dining room is not your thing, they do have an excellent buffet. And maybe 1 or 2 nights you just don't want to do the dining room thing. You just want to get something to eat. Bring the food to your room and eat it in your room if you want, or anywhere on the ship. Pretty much, there's sun decks right there next to the buffet. So, and there's a night they'll do more Asian and Mexican foods and Italian foods, and they have stuff they have every night. And usually they have 2 different lines. Sometimes they have 2 different kinds of things in the buffet. So you got that going for you anyway. And I do eat the buffet sometimes. I always eat dinner in the dining room, but I do have lunch in the buffet and breakfast occasionally in the buffet. The breakfast is awesome in the buffet, but it's also nice to sit down and have someone bring the food to you too, which is an option for breakfast and dinner. At breakfast, they don't give you assigned seats. Guy's Burger Joint, which was designed. The menu was designed by Guy Fieri, the guy on the Food Channel, I think it is. There's the Guy's Burger Joint on just about every ship, and this is a menu. You get a burger, and then they have a toppings bar, and everybody has to do that at least once. They also have the Blue Iguana on the ship as well. I think the opposite side from Guy's Burgers, and they have a tacos type bar, Mexican salsas and stuff. You can get burritos and tacos and those kind of things, and they're pretty good too. And they also have breakfast burritos there. So at least one breakfast on a cruise, I'll get me something at the Blue Iguana. And if you ate too much, you want to burn off them calories, they do have a pretty nice gym. And you can do these exercise machines while you're looking out the window while the ship's going forward. It's at the front of the ship, so it's a pretty cool view. And they got a weight room and weight machines. They also have a sauna and a spa, and they have aerobics and yoga type things that are all free. So it's kind of like having a membership for the 5 days you're on the ship, I guess. So you can go work out. You won't miss your workouts if that's what you do. You got that going for you for sure. One thing I don't know about because I've never done the spa, but right behind the gym, where you have to walk through the spa to get to the gym, they have a spa with massages and all kinds of things that women like, and cucumber rubs, whatever the hell they do. And then they have a hair salon too if you want to get your hair all done up pretty for your husband or boyfriend or whatever that is, go ahead and do that. The spa isn't free though. That costs if you're going to get a massage or, get oiled down or, seaweed wrapped and whatever the latest spa craze is. Women really dig that stuff. It's not my deal, but it's there for if you want it. And it's pretty good. I heard it's like a world-class spa anyway. When you first get on the ship, you're going to come to the atrium, which is this wide open indoor plaza thing. It goes all the way up 5 floors or more. I'm not sure how many floors. Varies per ship, but at least 5 floors, and all the way up to a big skylight. Quite a view when you first got on the ship. And then you have guest services on that right adjacent to the atrium, as well as the shore excursion desk, which is where you get buy your shore excursions if you want to. Now you might be the person who wants to have a drink, and where are you going to go to have your drink? Well, there's several places and several options, and I'll go over them as real quickly. There's the casino. This is the atrium. I was just talking about the atrium. They have live music there throughout the day, and this is the bar. Although you can go up and get your drinks and bring them down, sit in the chair, watch the band. They have trivia, they have dancing, and here's the casino, of course. And you're going down the what do they call that deck? The promenade. And here's the Lido. This is where most of your bars will be found, either on the promenade or the Lido, and they're usually about one floor up from each other. And then this is looking down at the atrium, down to different decks, and they have places where you can buy your pitchers and different. This is the piano bar. It's one floor up from the atrium. It's right across from the library, and as you're going into one of the dining rooms, it's a typical piano bar, but a lot of people like it. This is the Normandy Lounge. It's directly on the same floor as the piano bar down at the front of the ship, and then the deck above that, the promenade deck. It's where you see shows and musicals and all that kind of stuff, with lady dancers, men dancers, and if you're into that thing, I go to them anyway. They're kind of entertaining. Get there early, get your drink, and sit down, enjoy the show. And this is the Queen Mary Lounge. It's where they have the comedians. Sometimes they have different things. They're mostly just a comedy show there. It's the comedy club, and it's pretty fun. Get there early too. This is one of the nightclubs, the dance club at night, and during the day. Sometimes it's open. A lot of times they have art shows there. Been in there a few times. It's kind of fun if you want to dance. And right next door they have the Leonardo Club, and they have meet and greets there, and it's a party atmosphere. Cruises are for partying, So that's the other option you have. Another place you can get your drink on or you gamble. They have a really nice casino. All the ships have a good casino. And slot machines and all that stuff. They don't really start doing it until a certain amount of ways away out in shore when they're in open waters, and gambling's legal. And people can throw away their money if they want to. And up on the Lido deck, they have the Rembrandt Martini Bar. It's also their sports bar. It's where you go watch the game. Some of the bigger ships have a sports bar. And of course, there's two bars at the Lido deck. There's the Red Frog Rum Bar and the Blue Iguana Tequila Bar. Both of them specialize in rum drinks or tequila drinks. You can get your beer or your, other drinks there too. It's just that's what they specialize in. They have a lot of other drinks. They're a regular bar on the ship. If you don't feel like having a drink, but you want specialty coffee, you got the Café de la France coffee bar, which you have your espressos and your cappuccinos and your macchiatos and all your other LEOs. There's also another place. This is the 21 and over area. It's kind of a relaxed area. It's where you don't have to worry about kids running around. So it's called the Serenity Deck, and it can be fun, but lately I've noticed that the Serenity Deck gets filled up with people in their early 20s, and they pretty much take over the whole place. That's what been my experience the last couple cruises. It may not be that way. The first cruise I went on there, that's where me and my wife hung out the entire time. So hopefully on this next cruise we'll get to enjoy the Serenity deck again. The last couple cruises didn't get to enjoy it as much. But Serenity deck gets crowded sometimes, but it's nice if it isn't. Now they do have a smoking deck, and last time I was on the Paradise, it was one deck above. It was on the Vandalay deck, just above the Lido deck, and you could look down on the pool area where everything's happening. So you really don't miss out. It's a pretty nice area for the smokers, I think. And you might be able to smoke in the casinos. In parts of the casinos, but I'm not really sure about that because some ships don't and some ships do. Let's look at the different room options on the Carnival Paradise. A lot of the videos that will talk about ships will not always tell you about the room options. So the information is easy to find. But if your first time cruise or you're getting ready to book your first cruise, you might want to pay attention to this part of the video. Now the cheapest and most economical, I don't know, cheapest, they mean the same thing, but the cheapest room you can get is in interior room. That means it has no window to the outside. Usually configured something like this. This is the Carnival configuration. But you don't have a window or a balcony to the outside. There are rooms that are interior, and they can save you quite a bit of money. There's plenty of places on the ship where you can look, see the ocean, sit down and relax. There are all sorts of places all around the ship. So you don't necessarily need a window or that. I mean, especially if you're an active young person, you're going to be spending most time out of your room anyway, so it really doesn't matter. They're pretty cozy, and so that's an interior room. Now the next up in price would be a porthole room, and they're only towards the front of the ship. There isn't that many of them, so they go pretty quick. They're a little bit cheaper than your rooms with the big picture window, but if you're able to get one of these, this is a good economical room to get a good view of the ocean and get that natural light if you need that, and still save a little money. Now this is your standard ocean view room. The older ships, there's a lot of these on the fantasy class ship, and a lot of the ships are on the lower 3 decks, usually below the atrium deck. But they're configured about the same thing as an interior room. But they are nice. You get that big window. You can look out at night. I've done that. I've had that on 2 different cruises. I've had this type of room. I've had the interior on 2 different cruises, and all the rest I've had balcony rooms. But they are very nice. Especially if you're a first-time cruiser, this is the room I would suggest you get if it's your first cruise. And then you can decide what you like, how much time you spend in your room based on your first cruise. This is your standard basic balcony room. As you can see, this one has a door and a window. And then the beds, they can be either configured as 2 twin beds or 1 full king-size bed. You just have to tell your steward how you want your beds arranged. Sometimes they'll pre-arrange them for you. But it's a standard. It's not real big. It doesn't have the couch. It's basically the same as the ocean view and the interior rooms. But this one has a balcony. That's the main difference. But there are several different options, and some other ships have bigger balcony rooms. But now in your fantasy class, this would be a suite room, and on some of your other bigger boats, this would be your standard balcony room. See, it has a love seat and a little coffee table, so there's a little more room in there. Same closet space, same size bathroom and balcony, but it's a little more spacious. So that's your standard size. Instead of having a window, it has big, it's kind of like a patio type of thing going on there. But this is what I had on my last room. And the second time I was on the Paradise, I had a room like this, which was on the Mandalay deck. But there are some larger balcony rooms that are called suites on the fantasy class. This would probably be called a grand suite on the fantasy class ships. These are the larger rooms. They're quite configured a lot, even a little different, a little wider of a room, a much bigger balcony. You have the full layout, lounge chair things on there, and quite a nice room. You're going to spend quite a bit more for this room per person, so you have to take that into account. Do you want to spend all your money on your room? And there's only a limited amount of these, so availability, I don't know how well that is. Maybe you get lucky and get upgraded into a room like this. That does happen. Get a balcony room, get upgraded into one of these. That's the best way to get one, I guess. And on some of the bigger ships, they have even more grand suites. They'll have a separate bedroom. I've seen ones that have 2 bedrooms and then a big living room and a dining table where they can bring your meals to your room. If you really want to throw out some bucks, but to me that'd be a total waste of money, because I can go to the dining room and eat. I like that experience, and I'd rather spend my money on souvenirs and drinks and things like that, excursions. So it depends on what your finances are like. No one's going to know what kind of room you got when you're walking around the ship talking to people. If you're that kind of person, they don't know unless you tell them. People you eat in dining room with, they don't know what kind of room you got. So if you got an interior room, that's not an embarrassment. No one else is going to know. Someone might see you come out. They're not going to care. On a cruise, people don't really care what other people do. So it really doesn't matter. If you get an interior room, I've done it a couple times to save money. I went to Cuba. I was going to bring my mom because you pay, if the room costs $4.99 for an interior room, that's $4.99 per person. You got 3 people and you're paying $4.99, and $4.99. You don't pay per room, you pay per person. So you have to take that into account when you're getting a room. How many are in your party, and how much time do you spend with them. A lot of young people, they're in the clubs at night and they're out at the pool deck all day. They're not hardly ever even in their room. And so for them, getting an interior room is probably the better deal. I love sitting out in the balcony and having breakfast out in the balcony, order from room service and have our breakfast out there. Go get a drink and carry it back there and sit back. Me and my wife will just sit and hold hands and watch the ocean. So I love the balcony. That's my preference. I'd rather have a balcony. And some of the bigger ships have more balconies available. These fantasy class, the balconies are limited, but they're pretty economical, I think. So it's all up to you and what you're into, but those are the room options you have if you take a cruise on a fantasy class, such as the Paradise. So you guys all have a better rest of your day and plan that next cruise.